Hello. Welcome to another Nice Face Gaming video. Today we're going to be looking at Support Silencer. What he's good for, what his skills do and how to use them, and what items are best for him. So let's get started. In this video we're going to be discussing Silencer as a position 5 support. And that is because Silencer is completely item independent. At 40 minutes you can have Tranquil Boots and Magic Stick and still be having a massive impact on your team fights. So what makes Silencer good? Well, first of all, across the board he has great stat gain. And this allows him to have some late game tankiness even if he hasn't farmed up some survivability items. In addition to his great stat gain, Silencer also has a beefy GPM talent at level 15, and this allows him to catch up a little bit on farm and afford those wards and smokes and gems. For support, Silencer can really dish out some damage. He's got a large AoE spell, and his glaives scale really well into the late game. Unfortunately, you trade this for not having any stuns, sort of pitiful slow, and an unreliable silence outside of your ultimate. Silencer is both a strong and a weak laner, and what that means is against really powerful lanes that have a lot of kill potential, like a double stun lane, Silencer sucks. He can't do anything to interrupt them chain stunning and killing him or his core. But against weak lanes that don't have a lot of kill potential, Silencer really shines. With an AoE ability and an orb ability, he can really orb walk all over them. Silencer doesn't really have a great way to de-push waves. So Arcane Curse doesn't do enough damage to creeps to really push them out. And because of that, he also doesn't have a great way to farm outside of his GPM talent and kills. Now we're going to look at the talents. At level 10, Silencer has two options that are pretty good. The 25 attack speed, which will scale well into the late game when he's got increased intellect and glaives damage, and the 5 armor, which will increase his early game survivability, but has diminishing returns as the game goes on because of Silencer's high agility gain. 99% of the time at level 15, you're going to take the gold per minute talent. And I know what you're thinking. At every tier of play, the intellect steal talent has a higher win rate. And that is true, but it's because it is a win more talent. You take it when you want to win more than you already are. Because no one is ever picking the intellect steal talent when they are losing 20 kills to 5, it gives it a really skewed win rate and makes it seem better than it actually is, when in reality the GPM talent helps Silencer win a lot more games. Silencer's problem is never that he does not have enough intellect. It's that he doesn't have survivability or can't afford the support items that his team needs. You can even buy the intellect items with the gold per minute you're getting from the GPM talent. At level 20, you have another choice. Attack range and Arcane Curse both have their uses depending on if you've got a lot of int, if you're able to get auto attacks off, and so you're going to have to make that decision based on how the game is going. At level 25, the increased duration on Global Silence is almost always the pick. It can really make the difference in a team fight, while the Glaives of Wisdom damage is only about 27 damage, which is not that much. What do you get, 5 or 6 auto attacks in a fight? It's a pitiful amount of damage trading off for 2 seconds of Global Silence. Arcane Curse is Silencer's bread and butter ability. He's going to be using it throughout all phases of the game a lot. Now, it's got a pretty insane cast range, and on top of that, it also has a big radius. So, in the laning phase, you should be able to hit 2 enemy heroes with it, and if you are not, you are probably not utilizing it correctly. Arcane Curse's duration almost doubles when a spell is cast under it, so you're really going to want your opponents to cast spells after you use it. So how do you get them to cast spells? Well, there's a couple ways. So, first, you can use it against opponents that are using spells to last hit. Like a Phantom Assassin or a Weaver might use their spell to secure a ranged creep. So if you use the Arcane Curse on them before the range creep is low enough, they have a choice. They can either take a bunch of extra damage, or they can miss the last hit on the valuable ranged creep. The second way to utilize Arcane Curse is to predict your enemy's movements. In this example, we see that Doom is walking up to our carry. And Doom doesn't have very good harass, and he's got 0 armor. So the only reason he should be walking up is to cast Infernal Blade. With that information, we can put Arcane Curse on him and put him between a rock and a quiet place. He either casts the Infernal Blade and takes a bunch of extra damage from the curse, or he doesn't and takes a bunch of harass damage and walks away. When enemy heroes affected by Arcane Curse are silenced, the duration is paused. However, the move speed slow still applies. You can use this in conjunction with your ult to apply a mild move speed slow to a bunch of enemy heroes for a long time. Arcane Curse stacks. That means if someone casts 2 spells while under the effect of it, it will be off cooldown and you can cast it again. The damage and the slow both fully stack. Glaives of Wisdom is not really useful early on outside of the one ability to Orb Walk, but it does scale really well into the late game, and that's partially because Silencer has a lot more int later in the game, but it's also because it deals pure damage, and pure damage ignores resistances, so as enemy characters get higher and higher armor and magic resistance, Glaive still does good damage. As you can see here, I am eating this Doom alive, even though he's got all this armor and magic resistance. If you're not familiar with Orb Walking, it allows you to manually cast your attack modifiers so that the creeps don't draw aggro. If you just auto attack normally, all the creeps start to attack you. This allows you to harass much more effectively in lane. With Glaives, it's important that you know what your autocast toggle key is. That means that you can hit a button and your Glaives of Wisdom goes on autocast. Default, it is Alt and whatever key you're using for Glaives. Now, Glaives of Wisdom is additional damage on top of your attack damage. So that means it does not interact well with crit. You will crit on your regular base damage and Glaives will still do the same amount. Glaives is considered spell damage though, so your intellect, as it goes higher, will scale doubly so with Glaives of Wisdom. Here we're looking at 100% into damage. At level 1, Last Word is an extremely weak ability. It does 75 damage for 115 mana. That's just not very good. So you're not going to really use it to harass. It can be used to secure kills or maybe to protect your carry or yourself, but it's not a good tool for harassing. Use Arcane Curse instead. Last Word's damage and silence effect happen before the spell is cast. That means if the damage would kill the caster, the spell doesn't go off. The way that Last Word is ordered is also beneficial against damage negation abilities. Here we put Last Word on TA, she does refraction, but still takes damage. Global is super important, and it's super important that you get it off. So, an often used strategy to counter Silencer is to all-in him and kill him before you can use Global. So, how do you counteract that? You save money for buyback. It's really important. You save money for buyback. One more time, you're going to say it with me. Save money for buyback. It's an amateur move, and it's really easy to not do, to just spend your gold on whatever and not save it for buyback. You can totally win a team fight by your lonesome. If you just save money for buyback. Save it! Global Silence is dispelled by everything. That means BKB, Guardian Greaves, and Manta all take it off. So, if it's possible, you might want to save your Global until after these items have been used. Especially because using Global on a hero that's already BKB'd will silence them, and it'll really neuter their capabilities during that magic immunity. Your starting items are going to look something like this. You're going to get 2 sets of tangos, a salve, and all the wards. Because you're position 5, you don't need items. Then with your 60 gold left over, you're either going to get a Clarity or an Iron Branch, depending on the lane. Don't get Clarity if you're going to get harassed and not get a lot of value out of it. Since you're playing position 5, your core items are cheap, and there's not very many of them because you might not get very much farm. So it's important that the items you do buy are efficient and they help solve the problems that Silencer has. He has low mobility and he has no self-save, and these items help with both of those. No surprise here, a support hero that wants to buy Glimmer Cape. Glimmer Cape can be an excellent counter to heavy magic damage teams, and unlike a lot of support heroes, Silencer actually utilizes the additional attack speed from it. Drums of Endurance is a nice pickup on Silencer. Not only is it an easy build up using Windlace, it also has all stats that Silencer uses. He can take advantage of every aspect of this item, and it can help him with survivability. Force Staff is a sweet item on Silencer. It gives him that escape that he so badly needs, but it also gives him some save for his teammates, which outside of his ultimate, he doesn't really possess, which is one of his shortcomings as a support. So here are some other items that are situationally good on Silencer. Eul's has a self-save, and it's good against Axe. Ghost Scepter, self-save. I guess there's a theme here. Aeon Disc, yeah, you guessed it, self-save. And it's pretty good against the strategy where the enemies go all in to kill Silencer. Rod of Atos helps out if your team does not have a lot of catch or they've got some really slippery heroes. Scythe is just an all-around good item and is a strong disable. Vladimir's Offering has recently been buffed, and it's got a really easy build-up and can provide some useful stats for Silencer and his team. Spirit Vessel and Urn are always possible choices if your team desperately needs one. And that covers it. Everything you need to know to play Silencer at a proficient level. And if you like this video, please subscribe, and let me know in the comments what hero you'd like to see next.